On today's episode of Time About the Movies, we're taking a look at Tom Hanks and Paul Greengrass's latest film, Captain Phillips. We also have, I'm trying to remember the other one here, Robert Rodriguez returning back into the world of Machete with Danny Trejo starring once again in Machete Kills. And one of the most daring movies you'll ever see in your entire life. A guerrilla-style thriller shot in Disney World, Escape from Tomorrow. We'll talk about those three films on this October 11, 2013. This is Time About the Movies.
Sound the alarm. If you're gonna shoot somebody, shoot me! I'm the captain. The Navy is not gonna let you win. They would rather sink this boat.
I come too far. I can't give up.
Captain Phillips, rated PG-13.
And sadly, what's missing from that trailer is Barkhad Abdi saying the famous line, "I'm the captain now." Like, you would have thought that would have been in all the trailers, but apparently not. But welcome to Time About the Movies. Today we are taking a look at the three films that make up October 11, 2013, and we are starting off with Captain Phillips, which is a multi-layered examination of the 2009 hijacking of the U.S. container ship Maersk, Alabama, by a crew of Somali pirates. It is, through director Paul Greengrass's distinctive lens, simultaneously a pulse-pounding thriller and a complex portrait of the myriad effects of globalization. The film focuses on the relationship between the Alabama's commanding officer, Captain Richard Phillips, played by Tom Hanks, and the Somali pirate Captain Muse, played by Barkhad Abdi, who take him hostage. Phillips and Muse are set on an unstoppable collision course, with Muse and his crew targeting Phillips' unnamed ship. In this enduring standoff, 145 miles off the Somalia coast, both men will find themselves at the mercy of forces beyond their control. This is definitely Paul Greengrass getting back on track after Green Zone was not the big hit that he was expecting to be. I mean, that wasn't a bad movie. It just wasn't as good as his other movies that he'd done with Matt Damon. But this is definitely right up there with some of his best work. A smart, powerfully acted, very tense action thriller with Paul Greengrass giving us another solid film, and Tom Hanks giving yet another great performance, and a really good star-making turn by Barkhad Abdi, who really knocks it out of the park with this performance in this. I mean, he really is. He's the one thing in this movie that really shines the most in this film. And this movie is great overall, but the one thing you take out of this movie is that, man, that Barkhad Abdi's guy is really good. And sadly, he never really did a whole lot afterwards. Even after he got nominated for an Oscar for this, he never really had any big roles coming off after this, as far as I remember. I think this is his only big role he was ever involved in. I mean, granted, yeah, he has been in a couple of other movies, like Eye in the Sky. He was in Blade Runner 2049. He has done some, okay, he has actually done a lot more than I think I remember him for. Castle Rock, he was in that for a little bit, and then also The Curse on Showtime. So, yeah, he's been in a lot more stuff than I probably thought of, but, yeah, I kind of remember him just kind of fading out of existence after the Oscar nomination and all that, but, like I said, he's really good in the movie. You're on the edge of your seat throughout the course of the movie, because, like with Gravity, you have no idea how this is going to end up, and you know that Richard Phillips did make it out of this alive, but the film does a very good job of keeping you invested in this whole situation, how it's going to end up in the end, and it just works really well. It's an amazing thriller. It does a great job of keeping you on the edge of your seat. It's Paul Greengrass doing what Paul Greengrass does so well. What can I say, man? Captain Phillips, excellent, excellent film. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is the sequel to Machete, Machete Kills.
A madman has a missile aimed at Washington. Go kick some ass.
Unstoppable. Unstable.
I didn't recruit you for your sense of compassion.
Unpredictable. Clear. He's not your average secret agent. Machete Kills.
That's what he does.
In theaters October 11th.
It's a movie with Sofia Vergara wearing guns on her boobs. I mean, what else can you expect from this movie in general? This is basically what Piranha 3 Double D should have been. A movie that just says, we don't care how stupid this gets. We're just going to go out and go crazy with it. And it delivers. And it actually is a pretty damn fun movie overall. You've got Danny Trejo once again back as Machete, who's recruited by the President of the United States, played by Charlie Sheen, to stop an arms dealer, played by Mel Gibson, and a revolutionary, played by Demian Bichir. who you remember from The Artist. Now, that's not him from The Artist, though. What else was he in? A Better Life. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm getting these movies. I'm getting all these movies wrong. All that, but he was in Better Life. He was also Fidel Castro and Che. But you get the idea. It's a movie where you've seen him before in a lot of things. You also have the returns of Michelle Rodriguez, Tom Savini, Jessica Alba. They're joined by Sofia Vergara and Amber Heard, Antonio Banderas, Cuba Gooding Jr., Walton Goggins, William Sadler. I mean, this is about as silly and as over the top as you can ask for. I mean, it's about as fun as the original Machete is. These are fun movies overall. They know exactly who they're targeting their audience for, and you got to go in with the right mindset overall. It's probably the best thing that Open Road Films ever put out when you really think about it. All the movies that they've done, very few films from them actually turned out to be good, and this actually is one of those ones where it's silly, it's fun, it's over the top. It knows exactly the target audience it's going for here. If you go into it with the right mindset, you can have a good time with it. And I know I did when I saw it. Yeah, it's a real fun movie. It's nothing too spectacular, nothing too amazing, but it's about as silly and as fun as the original Machete is, and that's all you can ask for and then some with this film. So, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to this last movie here. And boy, this movie, when this was coming out, this was a pretty big deal because, yeah, someone was able to film a guerrilla-style movie in Disney World and make it a thriller, and a bizarre thriller indeed. And maybe it didn't work all the way through, but Escape from Tomorrow definitely is something that has to be seen to be believed.
People come here because they want to feel safe. Bad things happen everywhere. Especially here. You can't be happy all the time.
Something's wrong with Elliot.
There's something going on here. It's this place.
You're inside my head. You've got quite an imagination. Just like old WG himself.
Daddy, let's go home.
You know, this movie also kind of predicted the future because how many people have died in the last year at Disney World? You had the guy that committed suicide on the monorail. I mean, yeah, this is something that this is a bizarre thing that somehow it essentially predicted the future overall. But let's talk about the controversy when this was coming out, because this was a pretty big deal when it was coming out, because it first premiered in January 2013 at the Sundance Film Festival and actually was a favorite of Roger Ebert, who showed it later on in the year in his 15th annual film festival in Champaign. But it drew attention because the director Randy Moore had shot most of it in location at Walt Disney World and Disneyland without the permission of the Walt Disney Company, and due to Disney's reputation of being protective of their IP, the cast and crew used guerrilla filmmaking techniques to avoid attracting attention, such as keeping their scripts on iPhones, shooting on handheld video cameras similar to those by park visitors. And then after the film was completed, Moore was so determined to keep the project a secret from Disney that he actually edited it in South Korea, of all places. And Sundance similarly declined to discuss the film in detail before it was shown, calling it the ultimate guerrilla film. And many expressed strong doubts that the film would even be shown to a wider audience due to the legal issues involved and the negative depictions of the parks. And at the time of its premiere, Disney said they were only aware of the film, since that the online supplement to Disney A to Z, the official encyclopedia, had included an entry for the film. But they decided, rather than trying to fight the film and suppressing it, they basically chose to ignore it, and the film ended up coming out. It was released on video on demand around this time, and then shortly afterwards was released on DVD. And I mean, it's a very interesting storyline when you really think about it, what this movie went through here. But that's just as crazy as the actual film itself, because yeah, it is a really odd movie. So in this, it's a black comedy where you have a guy named Jim who's an unsatisfied middle-aged man on vacation with his family at Disney World, and while his family frolics around the park and is enthralled with the sights and sounds of Disney, Jim is busy following two French women he lusts for. The park environment soon turns into something more sinister as Jim discovers. Jim must protect his adventurous kid's angry and suspicious wife and defend himself against the happiest place on Earth. So yeah, this is the movie strange and bizarre that everyone makes it out to be. Is it a masterpiece of filmmaking? Well, it's certainly strange and bizarre, but a masterpiece? Not so much. I mean, I'll give it this. Like I said, the whole movie is shot very nicely for a film that was filmed with iPhones and handheld video cameras and all that. The fact that they took a place like Walt Disney World, which can be a fun place overall, it takes your mind off the problems of the world. Yeah, it might be too much for some people, but every time I go down there, I'm always having a good time because it's just like I could take my mind off the stuff that's going on in my life and just have a good time down there. But the fact that they took this and turned it into this world that is so bizarre and strange, it's so inventive, and it shows off a lot of great promise for this director overall, which sadly I don't think he ever did anything after this. I think this might have been his overall magnum opus. But yeah, this guy hasn't really done anything since then, unfortunately, and maybe that's for the best, because how do you top a movie like this? The one element that keeps this movie from being an all-around classic that everyone needs to see is that its main characters are pretty bland and forgettable, especially Jim, played by Roy Abersam, who's basically a dumber version of Kevin Spacey's character in American Beauty in a way. Like, the wife is annoying, the kids are not really great actors, it's hard to root for these people to survive the craziness that's going on if we can't buy into the characters at all with the predictable consistencies that carry throughout the film. What does keep the movie going is the creepy and inventive visuals the film brings us. I mean, that's what's selling the movie here. It's a lot of the visuals that are reminiscent of just stuff like, the films of David Lynch or Roman Polanski or even Stanley Kubrick. There's shots in this movie that are feeling very Kubrick-esque, like A Clockwork Orange and Eyes Wide Shut. We're talking about on that level. Now, everyone's been wondering whether or not the director believes everything he put on screen, or was it just made a movie. And I like to think he just made a movie, because granted, Disney World and Disneyland are far from being the happiest places on Earth. I mean, we just talked about it at the beginning of this, but I don't think the guy has a big enough grudge against the park to make it look bad, and clearly wanted to try something new and different with it, with a unique and inventive guerrilla-style movie here. And I think for the most part, he definitely succeeded in that. It's a uniquely and bizarre creative movie that gets a lot of its entertainment value from its inventive premise and its Kubrick-esque visual style to it. If there had been better characters overall and given more depth instead of just them going the predictable route you expect them to go on. Ooh, excuse me. Sorry about that. Let me start that sentence again. If the characters were more detailed and given more depth, instead of them just going the predictable route, then this probably would have been an underrated masterpiece. But as it is, it's a movie that is a fascinating thing to watch overall. It's very inventive, very creative, and it's worthy of a movie that's worth of owning on, whether it's on physical media or digital. But don't expect it to become an underground classic overall. It's a fascinating watch overall, but it's not a film that's going to be a groundbreaking film overall, a film that you're going to remember for the rest of your life. It's a curiosity watch, to say the least. Watch it once, have a good time with it, see how you feel about it, see how unique and impressive you look at it. But yeah, that's how I feel about it overall. A fun film, definitely not an all-around masterpiece, but definitely one of the more inventive and interesting movies we've had in a long, long time. So it's definitely worth a watch on that front. Escape from Tomorrow. And thus, with all that said, that's going to wrap up another episode of Time About the Movies. Next time we meet, we have a lot of movies to look at for October 18th, including Chloe Grace Moretz starring in the remake of Carrie, Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger reuniting once again for the action thriller Escape Plan, Benedict Cumberbatch starring as Julian Assange in The Fifth Estate. We also have I'm in Love with the Church Girl. Sorry about that, but that's how I see a title like that. Of course, I'm going to sing it like that. We have the Best Picture winner of the year, 12 Years a Slave. I completely forgot it came out this early in the season, but lo and behold, here it is. And we're going to talk about how it's a great movie, but like with Schindler's List, it's a movie that I cannot watch more than once. And I'll tell you why when we get to that tomorrow. But we also have one of Robert Redford's last movies where he had the lead in it, All Is Lost, and also Kill Your Darlings. So, let's see, 1, 2, 3... 7 movies overall to take a look at tomorrow, and we'll do that tomorrow here on the show, so stay tuned for that. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and do me the honors of hitting that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification button. Also, don't forget to check out our playlist, and don't forget to check out the previous episode we did. With all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.